from other colleagues. And some of the symptoms of dependency, needing more to accomplish that end. Increased use craving, continued use in spite of economic, social, and professional problems that are showing up, and repeated attempts to control. You know, I'll tell you, my name is Robert James Logan. I'm Scottish, Irish, Jewish, French, Spanish, Yaqui. Okay, my father's paternal side came from Scotland and Ireland during the potato famine. His mother's side came from Israel during strife there in the dispersion. He was born in Chicago, and he looked like Stanley Laurel. Did you ever see him? I had pictures of him wearing a kilt in the tam, but on his dog tag it said that his faith was Jewish because it follows the mom. My mother was, her mother was French, Spanish. She was part of the occupation of Mexico, and she had to leave during the revolution or they were going to kill her. She left the family there and went to Arizona. My grandfather was Yaqui. If he closed his eyes and shut his mouth at night, you couldn't see him. He was that dark. And he was a surveyor for the government then, the European government, had to leave because of his associate with him, and he went to Arizona. He surveyed his way into Arizona as a railroad surveyor. They came to California. My mom was born at what's the coroner's office at the USC Medical Center. It was the General Hospital. She grew up in East LA. She was a zoot suiter. She joined the Army during World War II, and so did my father. My father was born June 6th. They met, and I happened. In Fort Dix, Trenton, New Jersey, she had to be discharged, and he was in the D-Day invasion. And I was circumcised by a mohel at the hospital, so I'm a son of Abraham, right? Well, when she came back to California, she went and got Gilly and Lola and said, you know what, let's go to La Pasita and baptize this guy. So now I'm a child of Christ and a son of Abraham, and I got it going on, man. I'm going to heaven, right? Well, the other thing was I looked like Howdy Doody or Opie from Andy and Mayberry or Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. Red hair and freckles, and I didn't speak English. The ladies that took care of me were Albajeñas. It's weird being the lightest one in the neighborhood and the family, and they speak English and you don't. I learned to speak English in the cafeteria in East Los. We moved about 10 times from the time I was born to the time I left home the day after graduation. And every time you move to a neighborhood, there's stuff going on. You got to meet the guys. You got to fit the pecking order there. And so we did that. And I hated moving. My mom was big on education. She raised me like she was my drill sergeant. And because of the Army thing. My father died at age 35. We used to call it battle fatigue and shell shock. He was 35 years old, died of alcoholism. And that's not why, I didn't even know him, so I don't know what that's all about. Then later on, when we were here, her big thing was education, was empowerment and way out of poverty. So I went to Catholic schools all along. And when I was 9 years old, I was serving Mass after benediction. The big guy said, "Come here." And I said, "What?" And I thought they were going to beat me up because big guys are always beating up the little guys. Rite of passage, right? They offered me some wine from the San Antonio winery that they used in Mass. And I felt acceptance, and I felt some charisma and acceptance and companionship there with those guys. But I didn't drink alcohol. That was my introduction to it. And later on, I went through school, graduated with the second highest SAT at Cathedral High School. Grew up in these neighborhoods. When the big guys, the gangsters used to mess with me, they taught me to crease down, but I started doing their homework and they got better grades and their moms liked them and the school liked them, and so they took care of me, showed me how to crease down, how to low ride, because I wasn't that big anyway. I learned to drive when I was about 11. And they would be jumping around the backseat with their girlfriends when we went down Whittier Boulevard. Well, after that, I didn't drink. They would give me a paper bag with a soda in it, as opposed to the freeway bag that had the beer in it, right? Because they didn't want me to drink. Not while I was driving anyway. I graduated from Cathedral on June 6th. my father's birthday and D-Day, and I went to East LA College, but South Central LA was on fire and yellow, East LA was on fire and yellow, and there were troops in the streets, and the draft was on, and the Vietnam War, and they said, you know what, you had to go to the draft, or you got a federal beef and you couldn't be anything. I told my mom I wanted to be an artist. I was a sculptor and I could draw and paint. She said, no, they die before they get rich, okay? You know, the stuff gets all night. And I said, can I be a doctor? She says, no, I don't want to wait that long. You're going to be a lawyer or die in the process. So I went to East LA College, got drafted, and went to Vietnam. I was wounded June 6, 1969. Same date as D-Day, my father's birthday, my graduation from high school. And I spent months in the hospital. I left here weighing 165 pounds. I came back weighing 117. I've been in hospitals in country in Vietnam, in Japan, at Davis, and down at Camp Pendleton. I had to hitchhike from home when I got out. A Vietnamese nurse wove this cross out of one of my last IV tubes. I've had it ever since. I have my mother's dog tag from World War II, my son's dog tag from Iraq, and my dog tag from Vietnam, and my first grenade pin. But it was there. That wounding changed me. I became very angry. And I came back to the United States, and Hayden and Fawn and everybody else were spitting and calling those names. So you know what I did? I saw this sign that said, have you ever seen Spain? And there's a picture of Don Quixote and a Goya painting on 6th Street. And I said, no, so I bought a round-trip ticket to Spain. I lived there until the money ran out in Spain and North Africa. And I would take Canadians and Americans who didn't speak Spanish, and I spoke French as well, and took them around on tours and getting food and eating and stuff like that till the money ran out. And when I wanted to go to Greece, nobody would send me money, so I had 2 teachers from high school that were going to Northridge, and they enrolled me in school and said, you got to come back and start school. So I did. So I came back and I started school. I was angry at Northridge, and I needed a job, so I got a job with a friend of mine working for the Maldonado bail bonds over on 3rd Street by the East LA Sheriff Station. And eventually I had my own agency. I used to go to gangster clubs in nice shot collars, and they'd carry a Yamaha 380 revolver, because you packed when you went to those neighborhoods. And by day I was a college student. I graduated with 2 BAs, one in Chicano Studies, the other in comparative literature, comparative English literature. The guy told me, take literature if you're going to go to law school. And I was on the streets with Mr. Si Se Puede and all of I was like the resident bail bondsman to get the kids out of jail when they were busted at the demonstrations. And then when financial aid came in, I'd go collect the fees. And I worked at that up until I applied to law school. And I got a full scholarship to SC law school in '76. I went there till '79. I took my first hostage in '73, my first wife. But I was insane by then. I still was full of anger all the time. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't let you near me. It was always an arm's distance. Don't touch me. And I sat where I could escape more quickly than anything, based on what I experienced and the anger I had at what happened to me in Vietnam. I was wounded in the liver and the stomach, left arm, left leg, and it was nothing nice. And when I did get back, I went to law school, and I gave up it was a conflict to be a bail bondsman and be an attorney. I did that and graduated. When I graduated, my first wife divorced me. We had a son, and that was that. I count surfed until I passed the bar. The first time I tried to take the bar, I fell asleep. That's what I like to say. I passed out because I was rough from the night before. It took a couple passes to get past that. In 1972, when I was a bail bondsman, I was in a bar, and this guy had a glass and he was putting crystal stuff in it, and I says, what's that? He says, it's cocaine. Haven't you heard of it? It's non-addictive. It's the rich man's high. You can use it. Don't you watch television? Read Post Life magazine? You know, it's all there. Watch television. You want to try some? Sure. So I stayed not addicted for the next 22 years, you know, until 94. But what happened was, when I felt anxiety, I could drink. When I felt depression, I could do the coke. And man, I was like this all the time, you know, and that didn't stop. It got the drinking started, and the using other stuff started in Vietnam, because you couldn't walk home from a place you didn't want to be. Couldn't swim home and couldn't fly home from all the way over there. And so you did things to get home. How do you get home? Zone out. It became a problem for me. But I learned how to, in school, I'd learned how to be a student and take notes and pass exams, and I did that. And so I get to law school, I graduate, I go into private practice, and it went from bad to worse. I was there all the time. Then I managed through being single. My wife tried to serve me in the paper, so I moved to Mexico, and I was living in Rosarito, so she couldn't, but she got me when I went to graduate from law school. I got served at the ceremony. What a meeting. And then you know, so that kept on, and I went through treatment. I had a lot of people that are represented private practice, but it got worse, and it kept getting worse. And my son wanted to live with me, so I married an ex-nun so she could take care of him. That's my second wife. Blew the heaven thing, right? But she got an honorable discharge. She didn't change habits for me. We eventually had a daughter, Bridget, some of you know her. But anyway, that went on, and it got bad. I had a 72 Oldsmobile that I used to push out of the driveway at night to go get loaded and coast back into the driveway, right? Crawling out of a window in the second story, right? So, and doing that a couple times. Did I have a problem? Yeah. Was it getting to be a problem? Yeah. I didn't file income taxes for 18 years. Don't do this at home, you go to federal prison. I finally caught up with that. But it happened here that things got bad. I worked for DCLS in the beginning. I was a supervisor, but I had a problem. And I could avoid the problem and not want to face the problem, but every night. And I said, where were you? I'm at the office. Well, there's a bar in Lincoln Heights called The Office, so that's where I used to hang out. A student of mine brought me a picture of a place in Mexico City called El Despache, which is an office in Spanish. I don't know if it was one of theirs, but you know, it was a significant problem. I wasn't home, and I was out there insane. In 1983, 82, 83, I got 3 DUIs 6 months apart. The first one, overnighter, paid a fine, went to DUI school. 6 months later, I got the second one. I had to do 10 days in Glendale. So my secretary used to bring work and stuff, and I'd give her instructions on calls. I'd order pizza and stuff for the football games for the jailers and the other people in custody there. And then I got busted again, and I had to do 6 months. And I did 6 months at HOJJ. I had a cell overlooking the San Gabriel Mountains, beautiful condo up on the 13th floor. And I'd get out in the morning, in my sweats, get in the bus, go home, change my clothes, go to my office, have my clients drive me to work so that I would tell them I had to discuss my case with you. And then at night, I'd do a little motel time, no-tell time, and dinner with whoever I was dating at the time, and they'd drop me off at my condo, and I'd have to go into my cell at night. That went on for 6 months. And did I get a clue? No. I sort of lightened up on a bit. And took a while to get my driver's license back. The next one I got was in 1990. Fortunately, it was beyond the statutory period, or I would have done a year and a half in state prison for the fourth one. Do you think I had a problem? Most people, if they encounter that, they adjust their behavior after the first one. And I didn't. It wasn't until I was disbarred in 94. I walked into the courtroom here. Marcus Tucker was there. He says, what are you doing here? He says, you're disbarred. News to me. Okay, I'll see you later. And that was it. And a friend of mine got me into a treatment program, and I went there to find out what the hell happened. See, I could quit any time I wanted to. I used because I wanted to. Every Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday, I gave up drugs and alcohol for 40 days and 40 nights. Well, for 325 days of the rest of the year, I made up for what I didn't do on the 40. And so the quitting wasn't really quitting, and I was in denial about those circumstances. And what I'm saying, it doesn't matter how good this thing works. It's like that that movie about John Nash with Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind, when he talks about having schizophrenia. Why can't I reason my way out of it? You can't reason your way out of something that affects the way you think, your cognition, and your brain work, your judgment and inhibition. It's not going to happen. So it wasn't about reasoning my way out of it, but I was shown to something that I used to recommend to my clients all the time. Go to treatment, I'll help you get your kids back. Guess what happened? They got their kids back. And then afterwards I go celebrate a Union News or a few other bars around. And that it finally came to a head. I got letters from the State Bar, never showed up. I didn't want to know what they wanted to say, just do what you're going to do. And so I was disbarred and went into treatment to hide guilt, shame, and all of that stuff. But I heard something, and I was clean for about a month. So I called my wife and said, they're going to keep me here for another 6 months, another 60 days I can stay for treatment. She says, okay, stay there. And then at the end of the first 90 days, I said, I can stay here 3 more months, they'll give me $150 a month, I'll work part-time and go through more treatment. She says, okay, stay. After that 6 months, they're going to give me a job and I can stay here, and they'll give me a paycheck, but I got to live on campus. She said, don't call me anymore. What she meant was stay as long as you had to, because what I understood was I was the problem. Who got me loaded? Me. Nobody else did. I'm this far away from getting loaded, the bend of an elbow. I had to learn those things myself to get away from something I've been doing for 25 years. And so eventually I got that. I got clean January 21st,